Christians here in the Bay Area are praying for peace in their homeland. There was a special service tonight at St. Antonius Coptic Orthodox Church in Hayward. The priest there supports the movement toward democracy, but he says it must be done in the right way.
The church has no business with any politics. Our dogma teach us to pray for the president, to give them wisdom and to give them strength to rule and to govern the congregation in Egypt or anywhere.
Father Ibrahim says it's been hard to get in touch with loved ones back at home because cell phones and the internet are down, but through landlines they have been able to make contact with some relatives.
Investigators believe
the area has an estimated 70,000 Egyptian Americans. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama is live now in Hayward, where some gathered for a prayer vigil tonight. Jana?
Julie, right now we're in a church that serves more than 1,000 Egyptian families who are Coptic Christians. And tonight they are here praying for peace, something which Egyptians of all faiths hope will come soon. Chanting together, as Egyptian Coptic church members have done for some 2,000 years, people came together at St. Antonius in Hayward.
We have our relatives, our churches, our fathers, our families there, so we want to pray for them.
The large-scale clashes between demonstrators and government forces have shaken Egyptian Americans here in the Bay Area, a turning point in Egyptian history, half a world away.
Oh, I haven't seen it this way before, ever. I mean, this is very, very different.
It's not good. It's, you know, the whole place is on fire.
For Dina Ibrahim, a journalism professor at San Francisco State, it is a shock to see tanks and troops in our home city of Cairo.
Every Egyptian in the Bay Area is, much like myself, paralyzed today.
Many Egyptians here are spending restless nights watching the unrest on TV. In Palo Alto, we found Magda Danish, president of the Egyptian American Society.
I wish I was there so that I can do something or to be out in the street with everybody else.
Many are outraged by the Egyptian government's shutdown of the internet, their main way of communicating with family and friends overseas.
It's not going to make things better. It's going to make them worse because it's just going to make people more angry.
The Egyptian consulate did move from San Francisco to Los Angeles this summer, meaning many Bay Area Egyptians here are turning more to community centers and going online for support. In Hayward, Jana Katsuyama, KTVU, Channel 2 News.
And
the communication lines cut off, many Egyptian Americans are having a hard time coping with what's going on in their homeland. So tonight, they got together and found strength in prayer. What was supposed to be a regular Friday night meeting turned into a special prayer service. Most of the members of the St. Antonius Coptic Orthodox Church in Hayward have friends and family in Egypt, and tonight they prayed for their safety.
It's really scary. I feel like we're watching history in the making. It's a revolution, and I hope that the end result is something that's great, but I think nobody knows what's going to come of it.
Since the violent demonstrations broke out, many in the Bay Area haven't been able to get through to their friends and family. The Egyptian government have restricted internet and cell phone service. Even those who can get through are choosing not to, for fear the lines may be tapped or traced, which means for most, all they've been able to do is watch the turmoil unfold on television. And for members of this church, opinions are strong over how the protests have been carried out so far.
To make fires and to destroy the shops and restaurants and banks, and no, I'm not with this style.
All of this puts the U.S. government in a tough spot. While it can't ignore the overwhelming call for a new regime, Egypt is a major U.S. ally. Stanford professor Joel Brinkley is a former foreign correspondent for the New York Times.
The United States has needed Egypt for intelligence, for terrorism assistance, for help with the Israel-Palestine issue, and for a variety of other things.
It's a complicated situation, one these Egyptian Americans can only hope will end peacefully.
Hopefully a change to the better. More democracy, maybe, more justice. That's what I hope for.
There will be a show of support for the protesters in Egypt. A rally is scheduled for noon tomorrow at the corner of Market and Montgomery in San Francisco. Carolyn.
All right, Lillian. Lillian Kim reporting. In Hayward, leaders of the St. Antonius Coptic Church included a prayer for Egypt in their Sunday morning service.
We do a lot of special meeting to support Egypt and to pray for Egypt.
This East Bay Christian church has more than 1,000 members. Father Bishoy Ray says 95% are Egyptian. Sam Masai's entire family now lives in the U.S., but he worries about his former nation and the future of the Coptic Christian minority in Egypt.
The current regime has been favorable to them, letting them keep their church and their practice. Will the new regime let them do that?
Political change, he says, also comes with great uncertainty. In Hayward, Ali Rasmus, KTVU.
Are anxiously watching the protests on TV. And now that some internet service seems to be up and running again, they're making contact with their families. ABC 7's Cecilia Vega has more on that part of our story.
Thousands of miles away from their homeland, these Egyptian Christians are preoccupied, anxious, scared about the fate of their country. But during Coptic Sunday services in Hayward, they managed to turn their concern into prayer.
To remember Egypt.
For many of them, their family and friends back home are marching in the streets. These immigrants have a new home now, but they understand the frustrations in their native country all too well.
Everything needs to change. I mean, we have been in this, like it is a country governed by oppression, by dictators, by police. There is no democracy, there is no freedom, there is no justice.
Corruption, political persecution, poverty, the list of complaints goes on and on.
The price of very essential things like bread, sugar, eggs has doubled and tripled, while the incomes have not increased.
Life under President Mubarak's 30-year rule is just about all 28-year-old Imad Boutros knows. He moved to the U.S. 2 years ago. Even though protesters are demanding Mubarak step down, there's fear of what could come next.
If this government is overthrown, the next strongest power on the street is the Muslim extremists, and we are in fear that they would take control and then, they will change the...
Part of, as these Egyptians see it, history in the making. Cecilia Vega, ABC 7 News.